Okay, so we're looking at this. Found string, and we're looking for this. And then, so this generates a number, we said. And then he's adding 2 to that number. Why does he add 2 to that number? Because he finds this position. Why does he add 2? Shouldn't he add 1? He seems to be implying that there's a space. Okay. Alright. So he says, I use the VBA and string function to locate the space and pound sign in the contents of the active cell. I want to start the string that contains the sales rank numbers immediately after the space and pound sign. So I add, oh, sorry. So he's looking for this. Well, this. I can't get it, but he's looking for that. And so it's going to start here. Sorry, the position he's going to find is this position. So he wants to add 2 to it to go 1, and that will be where the number is. So that's going to be the starting position of the number. Okay? The result is, and so that's the starting position. He loads it into this variable starting position, which is an integer type variable. Then he wants to get stop position. He's going to use the same function applied to the same string and trailing string. So in this one, it says in books. Okay, and maybe in the Kindle book, this is a paperback book, but if you look on the Kindle page, it might say something different, but in this one it says in books. So he says, find the trailing string, the characters, trying to find the trailing string, the characters that Amazon supplies right after the sales ranking. In the case of tangible books, means like paperback books, the ranking is followed by that. Okay, that's what we just said. In the case of Kindle books, the ranking is followed by this string. Okay, so you have to do it differently depending on whether you're looking in the Kindle data or the tangible book data or paperback data. Or at least that's the case as of 2011. So in other words, Amazon can change this, and so you have to be aware, and if they change it, you have to change your code. And also, that's why, one of the reasons why we need to put in that error protection that we had in the code. So the value of trailing string is passed to the GetRank function, along with the name of the query sheet. Okay, so I think I might have made a mistake when I talked about this earlier. This is the trailing string, right? It says this is the trailing string. I might have said that this was the beginning string, but he doesn't even have an argument for the beginning string. I'm not sure why, actually. I guess because he is assuming that it's not changing. It's always going to be this. So, okay, well, I guess that's okay. I might have coded slightly differently and allowed this to be a put another argument into this GetRank function. Could have like another comma here, and then say something like beginning string as string, and then you could have space for, and then put that beginning string here, right? Instead of putting this here, you'd put the beginning string, and then that would allow the user of the function, of the GetRank function, to enter in the beginning string if they want to. There's also a way to have a default value of something, and you might utilize that so that if they don't put anything in, anyway, they could you could have it automatically put this in for them. Okay, anyway, that's not the way he did it. So, but the value of the trailing string is passed to the GetRank function. So you have to put that into the GetRank function, along with the name of the query sheet, right? Also the name of the query sheet. This and this. If I'm querying for a tangible book, I pass in this, and if I'm querying for a Kindle book, I pass in that. Okay, maybe that's why, because it's different for tangible versus Kindle, but the other isn't different. Okay, so now what? Now we're still coding in the GetRank function, and now he writes GetRank here. Maybe this is confusing. Don't forget. Okay, let's look at the code. We're still coding this GetRank function. By the way, I'm back here in this macro that we made, but GetRank is here. We're still coding. We just did this line, right? Start position, then stop position, and now we're doing this. So what is this? Well, this is some function here, right? Right? And it has stop position and the difference between the start and stop position and the found string. You know, this is probably getting the number, right? That we're looking for, the ranking. And then he's multiplying by 1. Now, you say, why do you multiply by 1? That's a good question. But first let's just figure out what this part is. Okay, well, we need to understand the mid function. So we can do a little search for the mid function. And it says the mid function extracts a substring from a string, and starting at any position. So it's going to extract a string from a string. So from a string, and then we have to say which part of the string we want. So we have to say the starting position and the number of characters. Okay? So do they have any examples? So we have A, B, E, T. We do, we have alphabet soup. We do mid on A1 on this cell. We say starting at the 5th character, we want 4 characters. So starting at the 5th, this is the 5th, and we want 4 characters, so it goes to here. So we get A, B, T. Doing it on A2, starting at the 7th, and we want 3 characters, we would get the. Okay, so that's the way it works. So it's where you start and how many characters you want. So how's he using that? He's using it on the found string. That's like in there, they just said on A1 or A2, we're using it on the found string. And the starting position is the starting position where the number starts, and the number of characters is the stop position minus the start position. Stop position is larger than the start position, so it'll be a positive number. Okay, so we're going to get our string, hopefully. I'm sorry, we're going to get our number, our ranking, hopefully. Okay, and then we're going to multiply by 1, which is not clear why he does that, and then assign that to this. Now what is that, this, GetRank? Has that been declared as a variable anywhere? I don't think so. No, it hasn't. But in a sense it has. Remember, we talked about it. Anyway, this is the function name. And in a sense we kind of declared it as a long but. Anyway. But that's the function name. Okay, but it hasn't really been declared exactly as a variable anywhere. So how can he assign something to it like this? That doesn't make sense. It's not a variable. We can't assign something to it. But that's the way functions work. What I mean by that is, if you assign something to the function name, here we're assigning something to the function name, that means that's what the function is going to output. Remember, we said that functions specifically are different than subroutines because they output something. And this is how you say what you want it to output. You say the function name equals something. So what this function is going to output is whatever this is equal to. Okay? So that's the idea. So this is not a variable. It wasn't declared as a variable. But this is the way you do it to indicate what you're going to output. Okay, now we understand this part. This is the captures the actual number, right? But it's actually a string. That's the problem. It's not a number. It's a string. Now it's a number. It looks like a number, but it's not a number. It's a string. In other words, you can't add it or subtract it. It doesn't act like a number, even though, of course, it looks like a number. But this is his trick. He multiplies that by 1, and that's a kind of trick to get VBA to convert it to a string, because it says, okay, if you're multiplying it by a number, then you want me to treat it as a number. Okay, so even though it's text, when you multiply it by 1, Visual Basic, remember I said that it's kind of sloppy, but Visual Basic allows you to do that. In other languages, you'd have to first convert it to a number. And there are functions that will allow you to convert text to number. And they work, of course, if the text looks like a number. If it doesn't look like a number, it doesn't work, obviously. But anyway, but here, you don't have to first convert it to a number, but you sort of have to do this. So it's sort of the same thing. Same amount of effort. So anyway, that's what this does. This will now convert it to a number. So GetRank is going to now have the text of the rank then converted to a number, so it's a number. So GetRank will be the rank. Okay? And then we have exit function. So that's the end of the function, but okay, so that's when we leave the function. However, we still have some code here. So if this all runs properly, then we exit the function right here. Okay, but remember we had this on error go to early out. So if there's any kind of error, then it's going to go to here first. I mean, it's going to skip all of this. It's going to go to here, and then it'll go to here, and then the whole thing completely ends. Okay, so that's the way you should do this. So what is this part? If it skips all of this, that means for some reason it couldn't find the string or whatever, there was some problem. Then what? GetRank, we still should assign something to GetRank, so we're going to just assign it 0. Okay? So GetRank will be 0. So the ranking will be 0. Okay? And that's how this function works. Now, remember, when did we use this function? We used it here. Did we use it again? Yeah, we used it here. We used it here, but for example, we used it here. Where is here? This is in the getNewData function. We used the getRank function. Now what we were looking at before was the code for the getRank function. We couldn't say getRank here if we didn't make some code for it, define the getRank function. But now we just finished defining it. If we have that in our module, which we do here, then we can use it elsewhere, and we're using it elsewhere. We're using it in the getNewData function, and we're calling it. We're using it, and we're calling it with it required 2 arguments, and we're giving it the 2 arguments, this one and this one. Okay, so we give it the 2 arguments, we run it, and what again is getting output? Well, it's going to be a number. And what number? I mean, it's hopefully going to be the ranking of his book. Or it could be 0, right? Either way. Hopefully it's the ranking of the book, but it might turn out to be 0 if there was an error. Okay? Now, remember that that's what we said gets output from. This was a function, and functions have an output. And we can assign that output to another variable, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We're assigning this output to another variable called nextRank, right? Hopefully we define nextRank in this getNewData definition. Here's getNewData starting definition. Here's nextRank, so we did define it, or we did declare it. And now we're assigning it a value. What are we assigning it? The ranking that we found. And then what do we do with it? Let's just quickly look at it. What do we do? We're going to put it on our summary spreadsheet. We're going to put it on our summary spreadsheet somewhere. So now we're going to have the ranking. Okay? Okay, let's read what he says. So finally, the code gets the value of the sales ranking mid function, which returns a string that is inside another string. In this case, the mid is found. We did all this. Those characters are the ranking, but because they came from a string, they are all a string. Therefore, I multiply the result by 1 to coerce the string to a numeric value. So that's the language they use to convert it to a number. Often they say to coerce it. Coerce the string to a numeric value and assign it to getRank. That's what we did. He gives us a note. Let's read his note. One thing you should always do in a function that you write yourself is assign a value to the function before the function terminates. He means, just like this, we're assigning a value to the function, right? Here, or we're assigning it 0. This is not an absolute requirement. You won't get a compile error. In other words, if you don't do that, you can still compile your program. So run your program. Basically means run your program if you fail to do so. But it's important nevertheless, and particularly so if you're writing a function that the user can enter on the worksheet. So it should, if it's a function, should generally have an output. The prior statement assigns the value of sales rank to the getRank function itself. GetRank itself. When the function terminates and control returns to the statement that called the function, what does that mean? So that means this. Basically, getting long here, aren't we? I want to stop this video, but it means we call the function here, for example, here, and then they say that control goes to the getRank function when you call it. What does that mean? It means that now, obviously, now the computer system starts to focus on what the definition of the getRank function is. So it goes to getRank function. So that means control goes to the getRank function. then after it finishes running, they say that control goes back to here, and the value gets assigned to next rank. So that's what they mean by control. When the function terminates, finishes, and control returns to the statement that called the function, which was the get data, the line in get data, GetRank itself equals the value that it calculated. And in the statement that called the function, which is this statement, the variable next rank is assigned the value of the GetRank function. On error, go to that's actually different. He didn't actually, in that code that we were looking at here, he doesn't do it this way actually. It's a little different, slightly different. But anyway, on error, go to 0. What did he say? He said on error, go to, what do we have? On error, go to early out. So that can be anything, I guess. You can call it, you just, like that. You've just put that there. It could have said early out 2 or something. Then you'd have to write early out 2 here. This second on error statement returns the default status. This is instead of okay. So actually, I'm not sure how he did it. I think what he would have put is, I'm not quite sure what he's doing, what he's talking about here. But he doesn't do it that way in the code. So I explained what we did in the code. But let's just read this. The second on error statement returns the default status. Telling VBA to go to 0 in the event of an error causes VBA to terminate with a runtime error if it hits another error. When this function cedes control back to the calling statement, the prior on error statement is no longer in effect, and so this on error go to 0 could be omitted, but I wanted to let you know about it. Okay. And then he does exit function. In the normal course of events, the function terminates at the exit function statement, and control returns to the statement that called the function. But if something goes wrong, the exit function statement is bypassed and some minor housekeeping takes place. That means exit is bypassed, some minor housekeeping, that's this, takes place. We just do some little, we just assign, in this case we're just assigning 0 to GetRank. Here's the label I mentioned earlier. Control transfers here if something goes wrong in the portion of the function that locates the sales ranking and converts it to a long integer. So here. Okay. The value returned by the function is set to 0. That's the value that is written to the summary sheet as the sales rank. When I see that, I know something went wrong. So if he sees a 0, I know something went wrong. Perhaps Amazon's code had removed the old ranking from its page and was getting ready to put the new ranking in place at the moment that this code executed its query. So just when this code was executing, Amazon had just removed the old ranking and hadn't put the new one in. Okay? After a value, even an illogical one such as a sales ranking of 0, is assigned to the function, its task is completed and control returns to the calling statement. Okay, let's stop. This was too long. 25 minutes.